Why do some moments with her feel electric, magnetic, almost fated, and then in the next breath, she pulls away? Why does she lean in, only to recoil like your presence is both thrilling and terrifying? This is where most men lose their center. They mistake hesitation for rejection. They turn the unknown into a wound. But what if her mixed signals aren't about you at all? What if they're the echo of something deeper? A tension between desire and fear, between safety and risk, between what she knows and what she feels. When a woman feels drawn toward a man who awakens something real in her, she doesn't just feel attraction. She also feels exposed. The mind begins to whisper, what if I lose myself? What if he leaves first? What if this is real? That's not manipulation. That's fear. Ancient, primal, and rarely spoken aloud. This is the quiet battlefield most men never see. They react to the push-pull like it's a game. They get needy, defensive, angry. And in doing so, they make her fear real. But those who understand the language of human anxiety don't fight it. They hold their frame through it. They recognize the dance for what it is, not rejection, but the dizziness of freedom. To understand this strange push-pull, we must step into the mind of a man who dissected human fear like a surgeon, Søren Kierkegaard. Kierkegaard spoke of anxiety as the dizziness of freedom, a kind of trembling that comes not from danger, but from the realization that you could choose anything. Anxiety, in his view, isn't weakness. It's the moment your soul stares at the infinite possibilities of life and realizes, I could step forward or step back. In love and attraction, this same dizziness appears, only it's wrapped in skin, breath, and eye contact. When she stands before a man who makes her heart race, something inside her recognizes the possibility of real change, of surrender, of growth, of risk. And that is terrifying. Kierkegaard understood that anxiety is a symptom of potential. It shows up not when nothing matters, but when everything does. It's not the enemy of desire, it's its shadow. In romantic dynamics, this means that when you sense hesitation, it may not be disinterest. It may be a woman staring at her own freedom and trembling. You see, true intimacy isn't comfortable. It confronts us with who we are, what we want, and what we fear losing. And in that space, most people retreat. Not because they don't care, but because the unknown terrifies them. Those who can stay grounded in the presence of someone else's anxiety become rare. They become anchors in stormy seas. And in a world where everyone wants certainty, the person who can hold space for uncertainty becomes magnetic. Anxiety isn't a sign that something is broken between two people. In many cases, it's the most honest signal that something real is happening. It's not the opposite of attraction, it's its shadow. When a woman is drawn to a man, she doesn't just feel curiosity or warmth. Something far more primal stirs beneath the surface. A recognition of potential, of risk, of change. And beneath that, a tremor. Søren Kierkegaard called this tremor the dizziness of freedom. It's that moment when you realize the ground beneath your feet could disappear if you take another step forward. When desire awakens, so does the fear of losing control. That's why so many modern relationships aren't undone by lack of interest. They fracture under the pressure of what deep connection threatens to unlock. In this dance, anxiety and attraction are intertwined. Her pull toward you and her instinct to retreat are not contradictions. They are two sides of the same coin. The more meaningful the connection, the stronger both forces become. Her desire makes her want to step closer. Her anxiety tells her to step back. This is why she might go from warmth to coldness in hours, why she may text you all night and vanish the next day, Why eye contact that once felt like gravity suddenly turns to distance. It isn't a performance. It's a nervous system in conflict. But here's the catch. Most men mistake this push-pull for rejection. They see her anxiety and believe it's about them. They interpret silence as loss, hesitation as disinterest. And in that panic, they overreact. They demand clarity. They cling. They try to win her back before she's even left. And that's the fatal mistake. Anxiety can't be resolved through pressure. It can only dissolve in the presence of strength. The man who grounds himself instead of chasing becomes a mirror. He doesn't shrink beneath her fear. He remains still. And that stillness allows her to return on her own terms. This is why the core idea is so simple yet counterintuitive. Her anxiety isn't your problem to fix. It's your opportunity to lead by remaining unshaken. You can't control whether she steps forward or back. You can only control the energy she meets when she looks at you. If she senses panic, she retreats. If she senses pressure, she locks up. But if she senses presence, calm, warm, grounded, her nervous system can relax. And where fear subsides, desire breathes again. This is the quiet power most men never develop. Not flashy, not loud, but magnetic. Because in a world where everyone is triggered by uncertainty, the person who isn't becomes unforgettable. You felt it. The high of connection, followed by the chill of distance. One day she's sending late-night messages, lingering in your arms, eyes soft and open. And the next, her replies are colder, shorter, distant. Your chest tightens. Your mind spins. Did I say something wrong? Did she meet someone else? Was it all a lie? You start analyzing every moment like a code to be cracked. You scroll through old texts, trying to decode shifts in tone. You replay conversations, trying to find the mistake. But here's the brutal truth. It might not be about you at all. That pullback may simply be the surge of anxiety that follows closeness. The moment when desire brushes against fear and the body instinctively takes a step back to breathe. When you don't know this, you spiral, you chase, you cling, you mirror her fear. But when you do understand it, something else happens. You stop reacting. You start watching. You give her space without punishment. You remain steady when her emotions wobble. And strangely, that's when the pullback often turns into a pull forward. Because anxiety, when not fed with your insecurity, often dissolves into desire. We're taught to believe that love is simple. If she likes you, she comes closer. If she doesn't, she walks away. But human attraction doesn't follow clean lines. It moves through shadows, cracks, and contradictions. The paradox is this: the more someone desires, the more vulnerable they feel. And the more vulnerable they feel, the stronger their impulse to retreat. Søren Kierkegaard understood this long before dating coaches existed. He saw that anxiety isn't a flaw in human experience. It's built into the architecture of freedom itself. When a woman stands before a man who awakened something real in her, she doesn't just see him, she sees the path she might walk if she lets go. That path holds love, intimacy, and possibility, but also the risk of being hurt, abandoned, or seen too deeply. This is why mixed signals are not always manipulation. They're often the body's way of protecting itself from what the heart secretly wants. That tension between longing and defense is where most connections live and where most men lose their footing. Here's the truth many never grasp. Her fear is a reflection of how real this is, not how fake. A woman doesn't get anxious about a man she doesn't care about. Indifference is silent. It doesn't tremble, doesn't hesitate, doesn't push and pull. Fear only shows up when something is at stake. And yet, this is exactly the moment where many men crumble. When she retreats, they personalize it. They see it as rejection rather than revelation. But what if that moment is the doorway, not the end? What if the distance isn't a verdict, but a test of emotional gravity? In every meaningful connection, there comes a silent negotiation between desire and fear. If the man reacts to her fear with his own fear, the connection collapses into insecurity. But if he meets her fear with calm, grounded presence, the dynamic shifts. She no longer stands before an unstable mirror reflecting her panic. She stands before something solid. That's the paradox of attraction. The stronger the pull, the louder the fear. But it's also where the opportunity lives. Not in controlling her emotions, not in fixing her anxiety, but in holding your own center so fiercely that her fear has room to breathe and dissolve. This is the hidden layer beneath the push-pull dynamics so many men obsess over. It isn't just about games, it's about nervous systems colliding. One anxious, one anchored. And in that collision, attraction either deepens or dies. Here's what most men get wrong. They think attraction is about doing more reassurance, more chasing, more proof. But when anxiety enters the room, what amplifies desire isn't pursuit, it's presence. Søren Kierkegaard described anxiety as the dizziness of freedom. That dizziness isn't something to eliminate, it's something to stabilize around. Her push-pull isn't an invitation for you to react, it's a test of whether you can hold your ground when she can't hold hers. The first step is stop personalizing the retreat. When she pulls back, don't spiral into self-blame or frantic overcompensation. This is not proof that you're unworthy. It's a natural reflex born of her internal storm. And your job isn't to fix her storm. Your job is to stand in the eye of it, calm, steady, unshaken. The second step is regulate your nervous system. When her fear shows, it will trigger yours. Your abandonment wounds, your insecurities, your hunger for certainty. Breathe through it. Ground yourself. Confidence isn't a feeling. It's a decision to remain centered even when your heart wants to chase. The third step is let silence breathe. Anxiety often breeds chaos because both people rush to fill the void. But the void isn't your enemy. It's where emotional clarity grows. If she retreats, give space without resentment. If she returns, meet her with openness, not punishment. You are not her emotional babysitter, and your value does not depend on her staying close every second. Finally, build a life where her presence is a gift, not oxygen. If your self-worth collapses the moment she hesitates, then you were leaning on her to feel whole. Real masculine energy, not bravado, but quiet power, come from having something solid inside you that no one can take away. So the next time you feel her anxiety surfacing, in the hesitation, the silence, the coldness, don't collapse. Don't beg for warmth. Just hold your line. In a world of men who panic at the first hint of distance, the one who remains still becomes unforgettable. Imagine what would change in your life if you stopped taking every retreat, every moment of distance as a personal wound. Picture this. Instead of chasing after their sudden silence or doubting your worth when they hesitate, you exhale and allow space to speak. You stop translating their fear as your failure. And in doing so, something powerful shifts. Not in them, but in you. You move from reacting to understanding, from craving reassurance to radiating quiet certainty. You begin to see their pullback not as rejection, but as a reflection of the storm inside them, a storm you don't need to control. This is where you step into a new identity, one rooted in emotional sovereignty. You become the person who doesn't beg for love, but embodies it, who doesn't chase validation, but invites connection through stillness. And here's the secret. When someone senses that your sense of self isn't swayed by their every emotional wave, it changes the entire dynamic. Your energy becomes grounding, magnetic. You no longer mirror their fear, you anchor it. In this identity, their push and pull no longer destabilizes you. You understand that attraction and fear can coexist in someone's heart. So when they step back, you don't panic. You trust. You wait, or you walk away with quiet dignity, not from a place of bitterness, but from power. The person who used to spiral when someone went quiet no longer lives here. You've outgrown that story. You've replaced it with presence, patience, and unshakable worth. And when you operate from this space, everything changes. Your conversations, your energy, your romantic gravity. You stop being the one who's pulled and become the one who draws others in effortlessly, not through force, but through calm certainty. This is what happens when you stop fearing their fear. You stop fighting the dance of attraction and start leading it. If you've ever felt the heat of someone's presence, followed by the cold of their retreat, this message is for you. Don't chase clarity in their emotions. Build clarity in yours. Anxiety and attraction isn't a rejection, it's the test. So if this message hit deep, hit that like button. Tag the friend who keeps asking, why does she pull away when things feel real? Because this is the moment everything changes. Not when she comes back, but when you stop leaving yourself. Hit like if you felt this push-pull dynamic.